Hello, I'm Stowe Boyd of GigaOm, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today, 3 Mega Trends of Digital Experience, which is being brought with cooperation from Acquia. And I'm joined by Maggie Schroeder of Acquia, who, as you can see, is much more attractive than I am. So
Thanks,
the reality, the reality of what's going on in the world is that businesses are confronted with mounting challenges when it comes to building customer relationships. A digital consumer, a world where much of the traditional buyer journey is taking place online, and the old ways of managing content creation and user experience are now increasingly inadequate, expensive, and slow. So we're going to talk today about how digital experience is evolving, and we're using this thread of 3 mega trends as a way for us to explore that and unpack it and try to get into the nuts and bolts of the impact of those changes, that evolution for business today. And then we're going to look a little into the crystal ball at the end and talk about the future, which is very hard to do these days. We're confronted with so much going on even before the pandemic, but now in the middle of it, it's even more difficult to look over the horizon. But we're gonna try. And along the way, we have a couple of polls where we want to find out some of your thoughts, where your situation is, you, the webinar attendees today. And then there's an opportunity for Q&A. So if you have any questions that are important to you, it would be good to put those in the chat, and we'll try to weed through those. So first of all, companies have to work to adapt and reconsider what technology must do and be in the sense of bringing digital experience to their activities. So this requires a new mindset for business, and we have to rethink how to interact, to create experiences, and get past just content in campaigns. So Maggie, at Acquia, you're in touch with lots of customers who are actually struggling with these issues. And in particular, I'd like to get your sense of how IT and marketing have to come together to work together in different ways. How is that manifesting itself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you started to touch on it too while introducing, just how digital experiences are evolving. I mean, we see them all around us every day. And actually, as an impact of COVID, I think we became more hyper aware of the way that we engage with brands digitally. And so when it really comes to IT and marketing, we kind of think about it. I mean, there are two aspects to a digital experience, right? There's the content that you're looking to deliver to your customers, but there's also the data that you're trying to understand about your customers to deliver that content at the right time in the right manner. And something, and I know, Stowe, you asked me to touch on, and of course, how IT and marketing have to come together to deliver and meet the challenges of delivering the right content on the right channel to your customer at the right time, because that is what it's all about at the end of the day. And I think one of the things that we're seeing as these digital experiences evolve is the marketing team really playing a bigger role in the delivery of these digital experiences and really getting them involved at more points aside from just content creation, content marketing, but what about enabling marketing to actually adjust these experiences and iterate on them instead of just relying on IT, and then allowing IT as a result, to focus on different projects and innovation at the end of the day. So really coming around to your question, it's all about incorporating more of the marketing team and creating that cohesive delivery team.
So you're saying that technology has to be increasingly designed to support the activities of marketers, and that may in fact mean that they're taking on more and more of activities that historically were being taken on by IT.
Yeah, absolutely. And even more so than just building them for the marketer, it's building them for a marketer who doesn't necessarily have the technical wherewithal to make those updates, right? That's why we've typically relied on IT in the past and really skilled developers. But the problem there that we see arise, right, is that those developers get bogged down with all the requests from marketing, and marketing wants to go fast. So, right. Exactly. Yeah. So what we're looking to see is, making these digital experiences accessible, right? The editing and the iteration, again, accessible to a non-technical marketer.
So one of the things that companies have to adapt to is the fact that they may be having a shortage of software engineers, IT people, because those IT people might be doing other things across the company, not just supporting marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that all the time, right? Like, we talk to customers, the one thing that you can never get enough of our resources to help contribute. We're always short on people and short on time. So anything we can do to, help those customers with those types of those problems, it's great. You can't always throw money at it. So figuring out ways to be more efficient at the end of the day, that's always a great approach.
So let's touch on this explicitly. This poll poses the question, have you considered, the attendees, have you considered low-code solutions to help your non-technical marketing team contribute to your digital experiences? So this is one of those quick polls, and people need to select. I wonder what you think the answer is going to be, Maggie, after we get through the poll. What proportion of people do you think are actively evaluating or have already got a low-code solution in their customer experience work?
Yeah, and so I'd love to hear your guess, but my guess would be that, most of our attendees, probably are looking into low-code. It's so funny, I've got a couple friends in the area who, work at different low-code companies, not necessarily for digital experiences, but it's definitely a trend that we're seeing arise, in multiple parts of organizations. And so I'm anticipating seeing that being something that holds true within digital experience creation. But so what's kind of, your hypothesis here?
I bet we're going to see a majority of people say we started looking into or we are actively evaluating. So in those two middle categories will be the largest number.
Yeah, completely agree. We will.
What about it? Can we see the answers now? Here we go. 43%. We have started looking into low-code solutions. That's the highest. And 13, we are actively evaluating. 26%, we already have a low-code solution today. That's interesting. That's higher than I would have expected. But still, the two middle ones added together are 56%. That's the majority of the group right there. Interesting.
Yeah,
and only
definitely.
17%. I was going to say only 17%. Only 17% say they're going to continue on with, just IT developers. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed by the 26% that's already using low code. I think that's super impressive. So, kudos to those in the audience. You're ahead of the curve, at least from what Stowe and I we were anticipating.
Yeah. So the first of the three megatrends, actually, I wrote a post about these megatrends where I called them meta trends, but it doesn't really matter. Meta, mega, tomato, it really doesn't matter. The first megatrend is, I've seen this across, many domains of software. Because when I research software, it's all over the place. It's like work management and digital whiteboards, wherever you go, it almost doesn't matter. The change of pace is making adaptiveness essential. So one of the key things that customers are looking for in almost any kind of software is they need a system that's adaptive, because they don't want to have a system that just solves a static set of challenges or goals. They have to be able to shift their goals, and they have to change based on being confronted with new challenges. So since companies have to work quickly to adapt as quickly as possible, they really have to reconsider what their technology is supposed to be doing for them. And I'm sure this must be central to the thinking at Acquia, right, Maggie?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think this is something that we often see our customers working through, is how do they, pivot quickly, essentially, to adopt, different changes, and, again, reconsider what technology they have, like what it can do and what they actually need it to do at the end of the day to meet new business goals, because they're constantly evolving in response to different trends that we're seeing. And those trends are evolving quickly. I mean, we've got 3 trends on the board today, but, we know that those could change within the year.
Yes, and I'm trying to make the case here that this requires a new mindset. And then once you adopted that new mindset that says we're not just, going to do this on an annual basis or something, and then we'll try something new. People are constantly innovating, experimenting all the time. And so that means specifically for digital experience, it's a new agenda. It's a new way of thinking about it. And therefore the tools have to be reconfigured. The tools have to be designed with this constant reconfiguration in mind. That must be what's driving the product development at Acquia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's one of those things where we keep coming back to it, but the value of an open platform is something that we play with a lot at Acquia. And one of the things that I've been getting really close to is actually the community that supports Drupal. And that community, when I first joined Acquia, it was something that attracted me to Acquia because of our close relationship with the Drupal Association. And I just think that the innovation and the pace of innovation, right, that the Drupal community supports is just incredible. And we see our customers every day taking advantage of, that or open source solution. And again, how quickly the community develops, new modules to support evolving technology. So really, and again, that is a change of mindset, right? Adopting open source, no matter where you're adopting that. But we definitely have seen some tangible benefits coming out of that for our customers.
Yeah, the day in the past, say 5 years ago, where somebody would build some collection of things, collection of capabilities, functionality in a solution, and then turn it on, and then wait for 2 years before making any changes to anything. I mean, that's just not realistic anymore. It's completely gone by the boards.
Yeah, completely. And, to support that as well. I mean, I always use this example, but I just got an Apple Watch. And Joe, you've heard this story. I mean, I got an Apple Watch, but I never would have been wearing one of those 2 years ago. Maybe some of, again, like the early adopters, what we call them in tech, but some of my friends who love getting the newest Apple products, they had them, but I didn't. And it's something where now I'm expecting to engage with, a bunch of different platforms from my Apple Watch. I don't even take my phone with me on my runs now. So I need, different brands to make their content accessible to me, even when I'm away from my phone and away from my laptop.
Right. And, those are the kind of examples where all of a sudden that becomes potentially another channel for connecting to, customers too, for that matter. So the second mega trend I've identified, and this is directly pertinent to what we're discussing, but once again, this is a trend that I've seen across the board in all these different domains that I study. First of all, software security is like a door that has to be passed through, but then once that check mark is checked off and the IT guys approve some technology as being secure enough, then the decision about which technology to adopt, which products to use, is really increasingly based on flexibility and integration. And I see this everywhere. Integration with a whole bunch of other software, because all software floats in a sea of software today. And flexibility so that you can reconfigure, redo, add a new module, whatever. But most importantly, I've seen that flexibility increasingly becoming low code, no code visual development tools that provide a high degree of modularity and package business capabilities. And we're seeing this everywhere. I mean, I've just written a report on work boards, the digital whiteboards. And this is the area of the most intense competition among the market leading products, is what integrations can you support and what package business capabilities can you insert as you need them, even in that context. I mean, you'd think a digital whiteboard, but it turns out those are very complicated and rich environments for collaboration nowadays. So it's something we're seeing everywhere. And of course, integration, absolutely critical. So how does this manifest itself? You at Acquia provide these kinds of capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were getting to it too with your example about the work boards, right? Is that I think the dirty little secret here is that everyone wants it to be easy and flexible. So that's really the secret, is that it needs to have all of those enterprise capabilities that we expect, right? So security, of course, scalability, those are going to be requirements built into almost any RFP nowadays. Especially with all of the security breaches we've seen in the past couple of years and how those have impacted brands' credibility. But then on top of that, right, and going back to our first discussion around, marketers and IT, is that those marketing teams, they want it to be easy to use. They see, even the Super Bowl commercial this year for one of the low-code site builders, right? As a marketer, that just gets you going. You're excited. You're like, I want to build that fast. I want to be able to create a website myself. But and when it comes to digital experiences, right, you still need those to have that enterprise functionality, the security and the scalability. And so completely, I think that we're seeing really this demand for platforms that have enterprise functionality and then also ease of use built into them, and additionally, flexibility. So going back to that ability to adopt new technologies quickly, and without that need for a custom built integration. So yeah, we're definitely seeing very similar things applied to digital experiences and what our customers are asking us for.
Right. Yes, and I'm sure I don't mention it here, but it is a factor, is that a lot of the platforms that people are coming to depend upon, ultimately the companies, the vendors themselves start by providing some of these modules, but then it is also the case that companies can build their own, or they can get them from third parties, this sort of app store kind of model. And that's something we're also seeing in other sectors where there is a sort of an aftermarket that people can provide these kinds of capabilities through the community of other users, and that also amplifies the value of the platform to everyone who's using it. Are you seeing that in Acquia, in your users? You mentioned the community of Drupal users, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something where we've actually been engaging with more and more technology partners in order to, again, pre-build some of these integrations that might not otherwise be offered through the Drupal community natively. So we're looking to, as Acquia, make those connections with technology partners in order to, again, better and more seamlessly provide these integrations. One of the recent ones was Acquia's partnership with Kibo, the e-commerce tool. So again, helping our customers deliver that seamless experience across their digital experience, whether it be on their main site, but also through e-commerce as well. But yeah, absolutely, we're seeing that internally at Acquia.
Yeah, this is a really powerful trend, and it's once again, it's increasing the value, as, someone's invested time and energy in using, for example, Acquia. As more things come available, the value of that investment just increases without, the company having to do much. You just get the value of that. It's really, it's a, keeps giving kind of thing. So, and this is something that we alluded to a little at the beginning, the mega trend number 3 that we're seeing across the board. There's 2 loops at the core of any business. The company is delivering some kind of value to a customer, but they're also gathering information about customers. And that second loop, which is often overlooked, is learning. Now, the learning takes place when you gather data or gather expertise and knowledge about your customers and how they're using your products and so on. And that learning, in the case of software, often means gathering data and analyzing it, right? You must be seeing this as a critical part of your business.
Oh, completely. And I mean, one key example I'd give is if anyone on here has followed Acquia, we recently acquired Agile One. So they have a customer data platform that now powers our Acquia CDP, excuse me. And what that enables us to do is to essentially gather that data and those analytics on our customers so that we can better deliver that content, again, on the right platform that customer likes to engage with the right message, right? Like, what is that customer actually interested in? And we build up that profile, again, of data so that then we're delivering really relevant experiences because, there's nothing, me, myself, I hate getting targeted ads about meat, for example. I'm a vegetarian, lifelong vegetarian. So whenever I get those targeted ads, it's something where it's not relevant to me. So it's something where by building up these analytics and better understanding our customers, it actually improves, again, the delivery of these experiences and the value of the experiences.
Right. So that kind of capability allows your customers to build a 360-degree view of their customers, right? The people they're engaging with, and to then craft the right kinds of digital experiences for them to help them, navigate, understand the offerings, and maybe, and this is to some extent the most important thing, allowing them to improve their product, to try to meet the market need that they're learning about. And that learning
completely
can be shared, right? You can share it with the partners and the customers, not just by the experience, but explicitly. You can actually tell them what you're learning about, showing them the insights and so on. And then I make this final observation that the best tools in any sector will be those that help us learn the fastest. And this is perhaps the thing that's sort of most hidden from how we think about business, is that the speed that we need in order to keep up with changing market conditions means we have to learn faster and then ultimately take action on it. So how does that impact your thinking about, the product future at Acquia? When you think about your company, do you actually, I would say that it's hard for people to get themselves in the mindset to say, hey, one of the most important things we can do is help our customers learn faster.
Yeah,
but maybe it's just
definitely.
a matter of wording it differently.
No, I think that is completely relevant to what we're doing at Acquia. And I think it, again, goes back to our acquisition of Agile One, which is now Acquia CDP, which is that, again, anyone can gather data, but it's all about rationalizing that data and making it easy to understand and also relevant to our customers and what they're trying to achieve as their business goal. Right? You're going to get different use cases for a CDP across a retail company than you might across a teleco company.
Right.
So what we want to do is make sure that the data that our customers are obtaining from their customers are then presented in a rational way that's relevant to their business, because at the end of the day, we're trying to help them, again, deliver those consistent experiences. But the reason being is that we want to help them improve and increase their revenue and increase conversion. And we do that by improving, customer satisfaction and also, making those engagements more relevant. So it all is like full circle there. But again, to your last point there about helping our customers learn the fastest, that is 100% our end goal in providing this data, again, in a really concrete and I don't want to use the word personalized, but making sure it's relevant to our customers' business.
Right. So they're trying to gain insights into what's motivating people to do things. But in different sectors, the examples you gave, they're very different. So one company might be concerned with, for example, its need to manage carefully defection, right? They don't want to lose customers, and maybe that's how they're trying to use the tools being provided to gain those kinds of insights, like why is it we lose, why is it that people are defecting, and so on. And that's one of those difficult questions to get at. Whereas some other company, another customer using your technology might be interested in the uptake of a new offering, and they're more interested in what's making people come aboard. And those are just two extremes along one dimension, but the technology has to be broad enough so that those kinds of things are directly supported, and the customers can tweak things so they can get at the things they need to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, we're trying to avoid, our customers coming back to them and saying, hey, your call center rep has no clue that I'm a loyal customer, right? Things like that. Or,
right.
To my example point, you're always showing me ads for things I don't care about. And those are pretty common problems in today's day and age. And our customers and our customers' customers expect these experiences to be relevant to them. So that's really what it comes back to is customer satisfaction as well.
So it's difficult these days to talk about the future, but I'm going to hold off on this slide. Actually, I've decided that maybe we should go to the next poll and use that as some inputs for our discussion of the future of digital experience. And here's the poll. Over the next 3 years, which technologies do you anticipate you will adopt, or have you already adopted? And this is the kind where you can select all that apply.
Yeah, I'd also love to open this up that if anyone wants to contribute any options that aren't on the poll to the chat, feel free to just, drop those in there. If you have any that your organization you think might be, unique, or maybe something that we were missing.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to say that everyone's adopted mobile apps, or very high number of people, I bet. I'm interested about the chat API. I'm really interested in that, and I noticed that Google just set up a new sort of organization to allow other companies to have their own chatbots running on the Alexa devices. So I think that's kind of fascinating that that's becoming a reality, not just a someday thing. But I think a lot of us were surprised at how quickly things like Alexa have grown as a phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, I myself have a Google Home, so I'm curious to see how many attendees are looking to adopt that, because it's, funnily enough, I thought I was never going to use it, and I find myself asking it for the weather every morning. Pretty handy.
I guess I should have put this on this poll, but I'm seeing a lot of widespread adoption on websites of omni-channel communication, the little box at the bottom right where you can click on it and have a chat interaction, or it's a chat bot, and then it escalates perhaps where you can give them your email and they follow up with an email to you or whatever. That omni-channel thing, I think, has become pretty ubiquitous at this point for many tech, at least in my space, it's all high-tech companies building high-tech products. Well, we'll
definitely
have to do that in another poll some other time. All right, 59% mobile apps, chatbot API, 68%. Wow. Now I wonder if the people thought of this as just they themselves as a consumer are buying them, but that's more than mobile apps, which is wild. Wearables, personalization, I guess that's sort of pretty deeply ingrained now. The way you said personalization previously, for example, you sort of said it in scare quotes. I guess it's sort of overused. Is that what you intended?
Oh yeah, I was actually, I think I was going to apply the word personalization differently than I would for digital experience. So that's why I hesitated a little, but definitely no surprise here seeing personalization at 77.
Right. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
right,
it definitely was. And I'm really, personally happy to see Chatbot API where it was. And I'm also excited to see wearables at 38%, I believe it was. Again, two platforms that I engage with. So it's always something when I hop on with a customer and they've got an initiative to, create an app that's made for wearables like an Apple Watch. Gets me excited to check that out and try it myself. It's a new platform for me. I've only had my Apple Watch for 6 months, so always excited to see the strategy there and how different organizations are approaching those kinds of apps.
Well, it's kind of shaky ground because of the supposed failure of Google Glasses, but I have a very large desire on a personal level as an individual for there to be a practical set of what I call goggles that I can wear that look normal. They look like my, everyday reading glasses or whatever, but which in fact allow me as I'm taking a walk around the neighborhood or when I'm walking through an office building or whatever to, receive messages, get text, be able to ask questions, the way that I can with Alexa in my kitchen. And even though I don't have any other wearables except, AirPods of various descriptions, I use those in a very primitive way, just as, audio devices. I don't use them in a sophisticated way, but I think I really am attracted to the idea of the possibilities for goggles that as I'm walking down the street, for example, I could be getting messages, but I could also be getting information about the stores I'm walking past, a la, Minority Report kind of experience. And that doesn't mean I want to be spammed, but on the other hand, if I am a loyal user of, this wine store, for example, on my main street, I wouldn't mind knowing they have a special going today on such and such a bottle of champagne or whatever it is. So I'm wondering how would does that, in your mind, is that the sort of thing that would fit into the kinds of things your company might be providing to customers in the future? Do you have mechanisms where people can take advantage of things like wearables?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, through Drupal, right, the community already has built out modules to connect with wearables. And I will say what you were describing sounds like an awesome future to me. It's funny, like in my I guess you could consider it my personal life. I'm super interested in like virtual reality, augmented reality, and then mixed reality. And so what you were describing sounds exactly like mixed reality and, kind of where I feel like tech in general is headed. It's definitely something that at Acquia, we're tracking pretty closely, but as far as, the general application of mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, it's something that's still very much evolving. But we saw how
Right.
quickly wearables came about, and chatbots like the Alexa and Google Home. So again, it's something where we want to be able to help our customers pivot. I actually just got off a customer call this morning where I was talking to this customer very, I think 3 or 4 years with Acquia, this customer, and they're looking into virtual reality and how they can apply that to their digital experience that they're leveraging Acquia for. So that's something that we're talking about with them for over the next 3 years. So definitely exciting stuff on the horizon. I feel like it's definitely still soon, but something that we definitely have on our radar here.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I think that's, some people have said that, virtual reality in particular is like the next platform. Some people have gone so far to say it's the platform that's the final platform, right? I mean, if you're in a situation where you're just walking around looking through contact lenses, let's say, and or glasses with audio in it and mics in it and so on. If you could in fact use that as a mechanism to find out critical information, like when does my neighborhood pharmacy open up, or what is the current stock price for Netflix or whatever, then the need for us to be slavishly tied to a mobile device or a laptop or a tablet or something really decreases dramatically. Like the example you gave, that you can rely on your watch to the extent that you don't have to bring your phone along when you go for a run. That's a major transition, that represents, a societal shift, not just an opportunity for marketers to, have another channel for them to communicate with customers. It represents, a way of life change for the majority of people. I mean, the only example that I can really point to that's happened in some industries is where they're using virtual reality glasses in manufacturing and construction and so on to immensely speed up people's learning or dealing with difficult situations when, like a turbine is broken in a gigantic power plant or something, and someone who has never fixed that turbine before can in fact do it because the capabilities exist so that they can project on the glasses of the VR headset how to do this thing that they've never done before. So instead of waiting for some highly trained individual to show up, which could take days, who knows, somebody who's got the basic skills but hasn't worked with the specific engine, for example, can actually fix it. I think those kinds of breakthroughs have happened behind the scenes, and so we're not really aware of how big of an impact they've had in those industries. But I think the same similar kind of thing could happen if and when people are wearing these kinds of devices in the future, and it could be, similarly of enormous impact to people in ways that it's really kind of difficult to imagine. It's like imagining what it was like before we had smartphones. And I remember the non-smartphones that I used to use, and how poor of an experience it was and how little I used my phone, in those days. So it's difficult for me to grapple with that. And even though I'm sort of a futurist, right, I spend my time thinking about how these things are going to change. And even so, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around how different things might be. Do you think that companies today are ready for that kind of a shift? Or is it that people mostly are just grappling with what they have to do in the next 3 months? I mean, it's very difficult actually to talk about the future of anything these days and say, well, what do you think is going to be happening in 10 years? It's almost impossible to do that, I think. But so do you think that most people are constrained to think about the really immediate future, and that it's very difficult or impossible to actually think about what you're going to be doing at your company in 2 years or something?
think it actually goes back to a couple of things that we talked about. So, first and foremost, it definitely is hard to think out to the future when you've got limited resources and limited time, right? You only have as much capacity as your team can handle. But that being said, I think with this shift we're seeing to, adopting open source technologies, and I'm talking, not just within digital experience platforms at the end of the day, I'm talking across the entire enterprise. We're seeing that shift because of the ability to pivot quickly and also integrate more technologies. Because in order to deliver these, these future state deliveries of experiences, we really need to have that strong foundation where we're able to rationalize all of the data that we have. And, this data that we're collecting today doesn't just come from, your point of sale system or maybe your CRM. It's coming from, POS, CRM, ESPs, your e-commerce systems, your business intelligence systems, different analytics tools that you're using. So it's all about rationalizing all of that data and understanding all of your customer data. And then also, we talked about evolving channels. With a lot of systems out there today that don't have these kind of open integrations with different systems, it's hard to adopt things like wearables quickly.
Right.
And eventually, if we get to that state of virtual reality, right, it's just going to be harder to adopt those as well. So I think it's all about today, with the customers that I'm talking to is, really getting to that firm foundation where they're able to quickly and easily gain a single point of view into all of the data that they're obtaining, and then leverage that to deliver content again across these evolving channels, and having the wherewithal to adopt those channels quickly. So hopefully that answers kind of where you were thinking of going, but I would say that's definitely the first step that we're seeing a lot of customers take today.
Yeah, and I think it's there's a constant tension, right? Because companies are trying to accomplish what they need to accomplish right now, and they're trying to learn from it as quickly as they can and adapt to it and make changes. But you still have to have time. People have to take time and step back and conjecture hypothetical futures, so that you can at least think about it and decide what you should be keeping track of in the wider world out there that might come along and become relevant and important. And so that leads me to a sort of meta question, which, we have all these meta trends, mega trends here. So I'll ask this. I sort of derived this from a really fascinating article I read where somebody offered up the most important, or the best question you might ask someone in an interview, and that is, what question should I ask you that would best demonstrate why you should get this job? Which I think is such a clever, adroit, piece of jujitsu in a way, to try to use the person's understanding of themselves, sort of, if you will, against them, not against them, but into their own benefit in this case. So I'll do that similarly with you, Maggie. So what are the other trends that we haven't talked about that are impacting companies today when they're thinking about digital experience? What things that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say, one of the mega trends that we're seeing, or meta trends rather, is kind of related to, I think, a few of the mega trends that we articulated, but we're seeing that there are multiple channels of customer engagement that are creating data silos at the end of the day. And so, yeah, exactly. And, this has been impacting brands long before, COVID-19, but I think COVID kind of brought this to the forefront. But the amount of customer data that brands need to process each day for their businesses is just increasing, right? And this data has even gotten, even greater with the new devices that we've talked about today, new channels of engagement, and an expectation from our customers, or our consumers rather, of these experiences is to deliver that relevant experience. So this is really going back to a lot of our conversation today. But we see customers every day dealing with large amounts of data, And when they first engage with us, right, they're looking at processing, millions of customer records from raw data in order to gain that understanding of, who are their customers, how are they interacting, what are they interested in, and then how, as a result of understanding that data, do we engage with them? Do we help our customers engage with their customers or their consumers in a relevant way? And so really what they're looking for, right, is a clean, and this is key too, deduplicated and correct data, right? We don't want duplicated data on our customers. We want that all to be crystal clear. So again, I think that, something we're seeing a lot of, again, are these data silos, and overcoming that challenge, and making sure that we have, again, that one single view into all of these data sources that we're obtaining, customer data from.
So one dimension of that is the scale question. As companies gather more and more data from more and more sources, they have to be able to scale up to deal with it. But the other point which is sort of a countervailing trend, is that as companies have more systems in which they might be gathering this data, they're potentially siloed, right? And as a result, there's information sequestered in different systems that it may be difficult to get at and to pull it out, and then to figure out how to normalize it, integrate it all together in a sensible fashion that actually yields the kind of insights you're looking for. So some of that is a platform question, right? Which is, you or your customers have to be able to scale their implementation so that they can take in all this, growing amounts of data. And then the question is, where is it that you're getting it from, and what mechanisms are provided? So, there's, once again, we talked about, all software floats in a sea of software. There's all these other components out there, and some of this, as you pointed out, could be coming from your e-commerce system. Some of it could be coming from point of sale systems. And those are not necessarily guaranteed to be implemented in such a way that it's easy or simple to integrate all that information together. But all of the companies in that, if you're that value chain, all the people that are building point of sale systems, the people are building e-commerce components and so on, they have, in fact, the same pressures from this trend to increasingly make their stuff accessible and open and scalable, right? So everyone's being confronted with the same challenges, and therefore that means it should be possible in the future to actually sort of reach that digital nirvana, if you will, right? When you can get access to every piece of data that you have anywhere in your company that potentially is beneficial and can help you get better insights into what your customers are up to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's really, going back to, I love talking about the Agile One acquisition, but that's exactly what we sought to do, right? We saw that problem, and we heard it from tons of our customers, and we said, all right, what do we need? And really, I think, the heart of understanding data is having Acquia CDP for, data ingestion from all these sources, getting that single view of the customer and getting more insights into that data, and then ultimately applying, machine learning to all of this to help, again, further rationalize this data, and then use that to deliver, the right content across different interaction channels. So, again, really a core part of what we call at Acquia our marketing cloud, which I just love to, again, talk about. I think it's super relevant when we're talking about, customer experiences and ultimately the digital experience.
It's fascinating. I think, we touched on it as one element of flexibility, but I think one of the things that we're seeing once again across the board is, low-code, no-code solutions are happening everywhere. I mean, I'm seeing it in work management tools. I mean, it's happening everywhere. So we're going to be working in an environment not too far in the future. I'm not talking about 5 years from now. I'm talking about like next month or, the next few quarters, where companies are trying to adopt that mindset in all parts of their business. It's not just digital experience, not just marketing people, but the people in the finance department are using some technology that's going to provide them that capability. So I think this is an interesting trend. We're going to be living in a world where a large number of employees inside of companies, not just the IT people, are going to become skilled at the use of low-code, no-code tool sets. And that, at a certain point, that famous notion that you get to a certain tipping point in a business where enough people have adopted a new way of thinking about the world, and then everything changes. It sort of crystallizes into businesses being able to operate on a different set of principles, different basis. And I have a feeling that that's coming, not just because of the low code, no code and digital experience, but everywhere in the business. Do you see that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the point about, not having as many resources as we'd all love to have, right? I'd love to have, 5 extra teammates. I've got such a packed week, but I don't. And so just have to figure out a way to make our workloads, that much more efficient. And so when we look at, the digital experience and delivering, innovative, content across all of these channels, we really need to look at a way that we can involve more of the team members responsible for the digital experience and give them, more power to iterate and optimize these experiences. And so what I'm kind of referring to here is implementing a low-code solution for a digital experience that allows typically marketers who would just be, maybe content creators putting in requests to developers to actually take the reins themselves and actually create and iterate on, the website themselves or on these mobile apps at the end of the day. And so, that's something that Acquia recognized. We heard a ton from our customers. We heard that, Drupal for, expert Drupal users, super easy to use, but someone like myself with very little coding experience, it would definitely be a learning curve. So something that we did is we saw Site Studio, which is now part of the Drupal cloud portfolio. I talked about the marketing cloud, now bringing it into the Drupal cloud, which is provided by Acquia.
Right.
So Site Studio does exactly that, right? It's low code, super easy for even, someone like myself to just pick up a web page, iterate on it, make the changes that I need, small text changes, maybe something's not on brand. I can just go into, the brand kit and quickly update that and make the changes myself. So, it really allows us to deliver or distribute rather the workload, and to just enable more people and enable that velocity that we all crave.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely. To get back to your question, definitely seeing low code as something that our customers ask for all the time.
I think it's a kind of a nebulous question, but another one it's front of mind for everybody. So what about the pandemic? I mean, the world has changed. We may go back to something once there's a vaccine or something that looks more like 2019 than what 2020 looks like so far. But I don't think we're going to go all the way back. And you never go back again anyway. There'll always be some new future, a new way of doing things that reflects what we've been through. And now, for example, now that companies are wise to the fact that they don't necessarily have to pay for all that high price real estate, many of them are going to take a long, hard look at, the bottom line and the benefits of the straightforward financial benefits of having less office space. What impact do you think this experience we're going through now is going to have on digital experience?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think it really exposed a lot of organizations, right? It put us all on our toes. Were we actually ready to deliver? Were we 100% digital? Really is like the question there.
Right.
And
right.
I would say for the vast majority of organizations, the answer was no. We weren't ready to be 100% digital. Which again, if you were, kudos. But again, I don't think that I talked to anyone who was 100%, had their feet on the ground, firmly planted, ready to do everything online. But with that, I mean, over the past, what has it been now, 6 months, we've seen so many innovative solutions. One great example, I'm Boston based. We have a company, local Toast, and I've been going out to restaurants all around, and you scan the QR code. You don't really have to talk to a waitress. You scan this QR code that's at your table, and it goes to your phone, opens up a menu, and you can order right from your phone. So it's such minimal interaction. So I think that there are certain things that companies are doing. So that's not necessarily related to Acquia, but that's something innovative that we've seen other organizations just in Boston doing. And now when it comes to our customers, right, and digital experiences, I think that one of the ways that we're seeing our customers innovate is by, once again, looking at how they can quickly use Drupal in that community to adopt these new platforms in response, right? They may have had budget allocated to, live events. They're looking now to go online for these events. They're also looking to leverage Drupal to spin up, again, like new mobile apps. Maybe we saw, wearables. So a lot of you on the phone now are interested in wearables and the chatbot API. So I think what it's really doing is it's kickstarting that adoption of these new platforms and new ways to engage with customers, and really getting us to think, do we have the right strategy in place today to adopt those technologies? And if not, how do we get there?
Yeah, I was in a store not too long ago where they have the capability in an app to, basically say, tell me more about this product on their shelf. And so it's a new point of connection to a potential customer for, this mouthwash or whatever it was. And I'm not a customer yet. So this is just somebody who's like browsing, but that information is available to people to take advantage of and learn something about me even before I bought a product, which I think is that's the sort of thing. It's another mega trend that I didn't write about in this article, and that is increasingly we're finding people who are spending more and more effort in analytics and expertise, so that in fact, instead of, for example, me deciding of all the tasks on my to-do list, which one should I do next, it's really the case, and in some cases AI is being applied so that the tool will actually recommend what I should do next. And so then all of a sudden, maybe I shouldn't be spending all this time prioritizing my task list. Maybe I should just have a smarter assistant that knows what's going on, knows what the most important things are in some way, and just tell me what I should do next. I think that's a fascinating transition that we'll be seeing in a lot of technology. So, for example, your customers in the near future might be in a situation where you could be recommending to them what they should do next in their digital experience experimentation to help customers better. I think that's fascinating. So maybe that's the biggest takeaway from today's webinar is if you get far enough along the power curve in flexibility and being able to analyze and gaining insight to what's going on, we can get to the point where the systems recommend what you do next, what experiment you should take next, what's the next best improvement you could do with your attempts to get more engaged through digital experience.
Yeah, completely. I think it all comes down to, and two words that I say way too much, but it all comes back to the content and the data.
Well, that's a good place for us to leave off, I think. Well, Maggie, it's been really, really fun, and I hope we can do it again soon. I think we hit some of the highlights clearly, and we did get a little out there in the fringe finally, but I still believe it's pretty hard to determine what's going to be going on much beyond the next few years. But it's clear we have a lot of interesting, exciting things coming down the pike. I want to thank you and everyone who attended. Thanks very much.